I found Dr. Joe in 2016 when I was in the worst depression of my life. I had moved to my dream location of Hawaii, and I thought it would help, and it just didn't. My body had all kinds of ailments, and one just kept piling on top of another, on top of another. Lots of drugs, they all made me worse. I had something called body head sunk syndrome, and it's kind of the most severe of the cluster headaches, and it felt like someone was shoving an ice pick inside the side of my eye, and it would go all the way back to my ear. And when I would get it, I would scream and fall on the ground. It didn't matter where I was. I would just scream. And I had them every single day, all day long, for 10 years straight. And I was just basically in a place where I was going to swim out into the ocean and just sink under. And the only thing that stopped me was my love for my husband and my family and my dog. So I was looking for something to help myself, and I accidentally ran across a video of Dr. Joe from Hay House. And I saw Making Your Mind Matter. And I'm a sciencey person, and the science just totally floated my boat. So I watched the 3 preview videos, and then I looked at the thing, and I thought maybe I shouldn't spend the money, but I was just in such a desperate place. And I went ahead and ordered it, and I started right in on it. And from the first day when I started it, the first meditation I tried, and I had only meditated for 10 minutes previous to that. And I went in and I didn't even look at the instructions, and I did a whole meditation, the one where the water is coming up your body. From the first meditation, I had some relief from the headaches, and I couldn't believe it. I was still getting them, but they weren't as severe, and they didn't last all day, and I wasn't spending most of my day in bed. So I knew there was something to this. So I progressed. And at first it was really hard for me to sit still for an hour, etc. But I just really wanted it so bad. I wanted to live. After a little bit of time, all my practitioners started to ask me, what the heck are you doing? My doctor started to ask me, my chiropractor started to ask me, my acupuncturist, my neurologist. I got a lot of doctors at that point. So I said, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I gotta tell you what I'm doing. I'm meditating, and it's not just any meditation. It's a very specific, scientific-based meditation. And so, of course, some people blew me off, but they started to listen to me because the changes in me were undeniable. I started to get off my meds. At this point, I've got off every single prescription, and I was on, I think, 14 prescriptions. I've got off every single over-the-counter medication. That basically took me less than a year when I had been trying to get off them for 10 years. And the side effects sometimes were worse than the symptoms. So that was a huge thing. And when I shared with my acupuncturist, who I felt safest to share with, she said, I want to try this. So I got her into it. And she showed me, didn't you see California here? There's a progressive workshop in California. And I thought, well, I still can't afford to go to that. And then I looked where it was, and I realized it was 2 miles from a very close friend of mine's house. So I made the phone call, and they said, just book it. And I talked to my husband, just book it. So I booked it, went to the progressive. First blessing of the energy centers, I had this incredible energy come out of my hands, and I was completely freaked out. I didn't know what to do with myself, and one of the volunteers helped ground me after because I was having trouble walking. Went to the restroom, came back, sat down, looked at my knuckles, and 2 of my worst arthritic knuckles were bright red and inflamed, and the giant calcium lumps that were on them were just screaming, but they didn't hurt. Over the next couple days, and you can still see the dent in this finger, dents appeared in the middle of the big calcified lumps, and it was as if they sucked themselves in. The lumps disappeared. It started on November 4th. By November 7th, this one was completely gone, and this one was mostly gone. On November 4th, as I was driving home to my friend's house, I have something else. It's called paleonopsis. And it's where, when you're driving at night, the light impressions remain in your eyeballs for much longer than normal. So the more headlights you see, the blinder you go. So I simply just don't drive at night. I had driven at night 7 times in 7 years. I had to make it the 2 miles back, and I thought, well, these headlights aren't making impressions, but it's got to be because of the ambient light and all these gas stations and things. It can't be that. Went to another friend's house after the workshop and had to drive out at 3 in the morning in my worst case scenario. Pitch black with no lighting, rain, and intense fog because I was in the middle of all cherry fields and vineyards and stuff up in another part of California. And I drove out of there at 3:30 in the morning, at my worst case scenario, and I could see perfectly for a couple of seconds until I started crying hysterically because I realized how good I could see at night. And I was like, wow, is this how everyone sees at night? So now when I drive at night, I just get perfectly giddy. And all week long, I've been commuting to a friend's house here. Same thing. I just can't believe how well I can see at night. And I've had that since I got my license, since I was 16. So it almost seemed like my oldest things were going first. Not the things I was working towards, but other things. But things went, so I didn't care. And then, since then, I also believe I've gotten rid of my Meniere's disease. And the way that I found that out, I didn't really notice at first, but I no longer was getting vertigo. I was no longer dizzy. I stopped going deaf in my ears alternately. I stopped hearing all the weird sounds. I would hear 2 different sounds in 2 different ears. That is all gone. And then I also had tried to give up my lifelong fear of heights and decided I would test this out by going ziplining with family members in Hawaii in December. And not only did I absolutely just love it, fear was gone, but I realized when we were done, I should have gotten insane vertigo on that and be very ill. So in the parking lot of the zipline place on the way home, I just started crying. Like, I definitely don't have Meniere's disease anymore because I would have not been able to do that. And I just see more and more miracles in my life every single day. And I was at the place where I was ready to take my life, and now that couldn't be the furthest from my mind. I mean, I wanted to die, and now all I want to do is live. It's just been such an amazing thing for me. And there's nothing more that I can say from my heart than this has just been the most amazing experience. And I had a healing today downstairs, and it was profound. I could not believe the love and the energy that I could feel coursing through me even before they actually started. I could feel my stomach moving, and I was bouncing on the floor. I think if it had gone longer, I may have come off the floor. But all of this sounds unbelievable, but I am here to tell you that absolutely every bit of it is true and that I just can't believe it. But Dr. Joe in this work has not only transformed me, it's just literally saved my life. I don't usually like to make an issue of weight because I believe everybody's beautiful as they are, but on the way I also just dropped 80 pounds. So I'm back to like my high school weight, and I believe this is like my natural body state. And I think that all that illness that piled on me also piled on the weight with all the stress. And now I just feel so joyful and light, and just this is just so unbelievable to me, but I know it's real because I'm living it every day.